Israel is now entering their fourth day of war with Hamas in Gaza. The IDF is now at nearly 500,000 troops who've been called up to active duty, and they're concentrating their efforts at securing Israel's southern front, pushing back Hamas in Gaza, and preparing for a potential escalation in Lebanon on their northern border. Just overnight, the IDF struck some 200-plus targets in Gaza. The death count in Israel has now passed 900, which makes this the most Jews who have been killed in one day since the Holocaust. For reference, that is equivalent to 31,000 Americans dying in a terrorist attack in one day, 10 times the number who died in 9/11. I'm Luke, and this is the Israel Guys. Hello and welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, this is an update on the fourth day of war in Israel, coming to you from Israel's biblical heartland in the middle of Samaria, where ironically it's pretty quiet right now, but also very tense because it's no telling what could happen any day. Guys, please subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us on social media. We'll be keeping you updated multiple times every single day, at least this week, probably next week as well. But as long as things are happening here in Israel, we'll be keeping you updated every single day, many times a day. So please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and we have a link for our breaking news WhatsApp channel down in the description below. Also, we launched yesterday an emergency fundraising campaign to buy equipment for teams and Jewish communities here in Judea and Samaria, communities that are all around us. This is we're personally taking funds, buying equipment, giving it to those who need it. 100% of the donations are going there. You can go to serveisrael.com/emergency campaign or click the link down below. A quick update from the war as we know it right now. As you guys know, by the time you watch this, it could be even higher. The numbers could be higher. But as of right now, it seems like maybe we're getting close to the peak. 900 Israelis are dead. I mentioned in my pre-show that that's equivalent to 31,000 Americans per capita, according to Israel's population, equivalent to 31,000 Americans dying in one day in a terrorist attack like this. For reference, September 11th, there was about 3,000 Americans who were killed. 2,600 wounded in Israel right now, several hundred of them critical. And Hamas is claiming 163 hostages, Israeli hostages, and foreign nationals. I'll get to that in a second, inside Gaza who are being held captive. The IDF in Israel is saying at least 100 hostages. So those numbers remain to be seen. Who those people are, I think the IDF and the government is still notifying family members, and it also remains to be seen. Obviously, Israel is going to make every effort to rescue them, to make sure they're safe. But please pray for the hostages inside Gaza, as well as families who have lost loved ones, as well as the wounded and the injured, soldiers, civilians, police officers, security forces. I found several different numbers, but I'll give you as accurate as I can. Obviously, all of our source links are down in the description below if you want to check them out for yourself, as well as keep up with the news of what's happening. But as far as I know, the IDF has increased their reserves call up to now 260,000, which will supplement the already 170,000 active duty soldiers, which means that there is about 430,000 IDF soldiers now serving on the front lines in the south and in the north of Israel. The Israeli Air Force actually sent airplanes to Europe to pick up reserve soldiers, several hundred of them, and bring them back to Israel so that they could join the war efforts. Hezbollah in Lebanon has now fired several missiles into Israel from the north. The IDF is building up their military up there to be prepared for a full-on invasion. The IDF is now reporting that 1,500 Hamas terrorists have been killed inside Israel. Initially they were saying a few dozen Hamas members, terrorists, and then they said maybe 100, and then they're saying a few hundred. Now the IDF is reporting 1,500 Hamas terrorists that infiltrated Israel on October 7th, this past Saturday, and now have been neutralized, thank God. Just overnight, the IDF struck more than 200 sites via airstrikes in Gaza, meaning they're taking out Hamas piece by piece. many people think they're getting ready for a full-on operational invasion, probably by ground troops into Gaza. So we'll see what happens there. There are now numbers coming out of the dead and missing, and there's actually a lot of foreign nationals that were in Israel. There was a German girl, horrific images across social media that we will never show you, so horrible, but she was killed. The United States is now, the numbers are coming out, 11 dead of American citizens and at least a dozen still missing, meaning they're either dead or hostage inside Gaza. We have Thai workers that were killed or missing. There's about 25 workers, migrant workers from Thailand working in Israel on work visas, several killed and several missing. Also the same from Nepal, France, Argentina, Great Britain, Germany, Spain, Ukraine. Many killed, many missing, possibly abducted, or they were killed and just have not been found yet. So the big question is, right, what happened? And I want to get into that more. Obviously, Israel is now saying 1,500 terrorists infiltrated Israel. They now said they've gone town by town, house by house, and the southern area of Israel is secure for the moment, but there's still the possibility that terrorists are inside Israel. The danger now is that they've gone into hiding, or they've mingled in with the Arab population of Israel. They've crossed into Judea and Samaria, what the world calls the West Bank, to mingle in with Palestinian Arabs and the Palestinian Authority. But 1,500 terrorists infiltrated Israel. So I'm going to give you one side of the story, and then we'll get into the other side. There was a really good explainer video from the Wall Street Journal YouTube channel, and hopefully we'll put some B-roll up, and we'll put the link for the video down below, showing just exactly how Hamas, they flew drones over the fence, they took out Israel's communication towers and equipment, and then Hamas invaded through the fence with pickup trucks. The bulldozers took out the fence, motorcycles, paragliders, speedboats, and even reports of a guy on a bicycle. And obviously 1,500 of them invaded Israel and began killing, raping, abducting, just destroying everything in their path. So I want to get into kind of the other side of it and what exactly may have happened in just a second. But I do want to tell you, hundreds of thousands of IDF and security personnel have been called up from all over the country to active duty on Israel's front lines. We have personally found out now through phone calls and messages to many of our friends and people that we know in the Jewish communities all around us, including the community of Har Bracha, where this studio is based out of. Because so many reserve soldiers have been called to the south and the north in Israel, many communities in Judea and Samaria are now vulnerable and without adequate manpower and equipment. We're personally contacting security chiefs, security teams, small farms, and they desperately need equipment. We're talking about drones, flashlights, binoculars, much, much, much more. So our team is out purchasing several drones as I speak. We're working to get flashlights brought in. We have people coming to Israel bringing things like flashlights and binoculars in their suitcases. We're ordering equipment, night vision equipment, things like that. So we have an emergency fundraising campaign. It launched last night. We're not waiting to buy equipment, but however much you guys can give and join in, that is how much we'll be able to buy, and the needs are really endless. Okay, there's literally hundreds and thousands of pieces of equipment that are needed all around us. So go to serveisrael.com/emergency campaign. The link will be down in the description below. 100% of these funds are going to go directly to assisting the Jewish communities, small farms, security teams in Judea and Samaria, many of them very near to where we are right now. We're talking funds come in, we are making purchases directly, and within days, hopefully a week, 2 weeks at the max, we will have equipment in the hands of security personnel. Some of the equipment we will have in their hands today by the time you see this video. So please join the campaign. Everything that's donated is going to go directly into helping the Jewish communities and the people in the land of Israel. So obviously there was a big failure somewhere. Whether it's Israel's intelligence, whether it's international pressure on Israel, Israel's government, the defense ministry, whatever it is, there's a big failure, right? We may not know for years, maybe for decades, the exact scope of that failure. But as of right now, small bits of information are slowly beginning to emerge and a picture is beginning to form, okay? I'm going to give you a lot of information from a Jerusalem Post article that was also pulled together from information from Reuters. Again, the links will be down below if you want to check it out. October 7th, 2023, 6:30 in the morning, this attack started. There was also several Israeli security officials who asked to remain anonymous. that gave information to J-Post and Reuters. I'm going to give you a couple quotes because basically all of this seems to have come off the fact that for the last 2 years, Hamas has led Israel to believe that they were not thirsty for a fight with Israel. Obviously, we knew over the last 10, 12, 15 years, Hamas has attacked Israel over and over again with thousands and tens of thousands of rockets. For the last 2 years, it's been relatively quiet. And Israel has been led to believe that Hamas was maybe focusing more on rebuilding Gaza, stabilizing their economy, finding jobs for their people, et cetera, et cetera. Several security officials, here's a couple of quotes. They said, Hamas gave Israel the impression that it was not ready for a fight. Hamas used an unprecedented intelligence tactic to mislead Israel over the last months by giving a public impression that it was not willing to go into a fight or confrontation with Israel while preparing for this massive operation. Information starting, I believe Hamas themselves are even now running PR, actually giving information to journalists and the media. As crazy as that is, but they're giving information now because they're so proud of their victory, right? They constructed a mock Israeli settlement inside Gaza. They even held drills in plain view of Israel and somehow led Israel to believe that it was for something else. Another one of the security sources said, quote, Israel surely saw them, but they were convinced that Hamas was not keen on getting into a confrontation, right? So for the last 2 years, Hamas has been trying their best to convince Israel that they're more interested in economic cooperation. There's been a big emphasis on getting permits for Gazans to enter Israel to work inside Israel because typically they make 10 times more what they would make inside Gaza because the economy is so poor there. And that basically their goal was to convince Israel they were not interested in another war. Another security official said, quote, Hamas was able to build an entire image, a whole image, that it was not ready for a military adventure against Israel. Another IDF spokesman said, we believe that the fact that they were coming into work and bringing money into Gaza would create a certain level of calm. We were wrong. So Fatah and the Palestinian Authority over the last couple of years, they've even mocked Hamas for not wanting to fight Israel. And Israel's government and security establishment evidently began to believe that Hamas wanted to manage the stability in the economy of Gaza instead of killing Jews. So we know now that the entire operation has probably been being the planning process for the last 2 years, and that it's been done in the utmost secrecy. Some reports even said they don't use any communication equipment because we know that Israel is very good at listening into the enemy and picking up what they're doing. So they might have kept everything offline, everything, actual face-to-face encounters and meetings. They were training at least 1,000 terrorists. And all of these terrorists who were training for the last 2 years were never told what the operation was about. Even a lot of the Hamas leaders themselves were not told about the operation. But it now seems that this operation was multi-pronged. I'll give you the steps. Number 1, October 7th, 6:31 a.m., fire 3,000 rockets into Israel. Initially, Israel reported the numbers lower, but now they're saying 3,000 rockets fired all in a massive barrage into Israel. Under the cover of that rocket fire, terrorists paraglide and fly in motorized ultralights and paragliders into Israel to secure the ground area. And then an elite commando unit comes in. They storm Israel's concrete wall and electronics infrastructure to take out Israel's intelligence, communications, and monitoring capabilities. And then at the same time, another commando unit storms Israel's southern headquarters, jamming all of their communications completely so that they cannot even call each other. I believe even the phone communication was taken out. And then commandos and terrorists just pour into Israel after bulldozers break open the fence in motorbikes, motorcycles, pickup trucks. We know now speedboats were trying to get in via the sea. Again, paragliders and even reports of terrorists on bicycles. The biggest part of the plan: come into Israel as quickly as possible, bring as many terrorists into Israel as possible, take as many hostages as possible, as early as possible into the Gaza Strip. And we know now that happened in the process. And another obvious big part of the plan was kill as many people as you can. 260 bodies, or 240 maybe, were just found, I believe, day before yesterday, on the, like, not found until the second day, from a festival as part of the Israeli holidays. There was a big, I think, music or dance festival happening out in a field, and hundreds of Israelis were camping. Hamas just came in and just started killing people, and like over 200 people were killed in one field. Other things that probably contributed to this, a lot of the IDF had been moved to Judea and Samaria because there's been an uptick in terrorism here lately, and they were trying to make sure that the Jewish communities here were protected and that Judea and Samaria was protected. So more troops have been pulled off of Israel's southern border. There's so much speculation, and again, like I said, a lot of information will probably take years to come out. I saw one video by an IDF soldier who had been part of the intelligence and monitoring team at the Gaza border. She said there was no way that Israel could have been caught off guard like this because their monitoring capabilities were so first class and intense. She said if a cockroach crawled across the border, they had a team that was activated to go check it out. So there's that side of it. Again, if Hamas was absolutely stunningly successful in taking out Israel's communications, that answers, that question. But possibly all of the above. There's multiple failures. There was even an unconfirmed report in Israeli media, I believe in a Hebrew language TV station, that Egyptian intelligence had warned Israel of this impending attack. Obviously unconfirmed. We'll see if that materializes later on. What do we know right now? The United States is moving a fleet of warships into the Mediterranean, an aircraft carrier even. I heard a rumor that an American bomber has been brought to Israel in readiness. So the United States is supporting Israel, although sadly we do know that weapons that the U.S. left in Afghanistan made their way to Gaza. We also know that the U.S. has released billions of dollars in funds to Iran, which obviously the information has come out now that Iran massively helped Hamas. Hamas is not a sophisticated terrorist organization, or so everyone thought. They were very much, no one thought them capable of an attack like this. Probably were not, but if they had help over the last several years from someone like Iran, giving them funds and weapons and training and planning, then they very much could have pulled this off. I want to give you guys one positive story. There are good stories coming out of Israel at this time. There's a grandmother who is now being hailed as a hero in Israel. An elderly couple, about 7 a.m. Saturday morning, right after the attack started, rockets raining down into Israel. Her and her husband had to run for the bomb shelter in the southern town of Ofakim, one of the towns that was held hostage by Hamas terrorists for a while. When they returned from the bomb shelter, they found 5 Hamas terrorists waiting for them, who immediately took them captive. One of them even held a grenade on top of Rachel's head, the wife of this couple. And they marched the couple right into their house, where they proceeded to hold them hostage for the next 20 hours. Immediately, they started screaming Allahu Akbar, saying that they were ready to die as martyrs and that they were going to kill Rachel and her husband. They didn't kill them right away, held them hostage, and thinking quickly, Rachel began offering the terrorists food and drink, thinking that it might stall them and maybe security forces could arrive. Her son was a police officer, heard what was happening, and immediately called security forces. Her son arrived along with a commando team and a negotiation team. For the next 20 hours, they even opened negotiations with the terrorists, tried to convince them to come out. The terrorists kept, escalating, de-escalating. It was a very tense situation. Rachel and her husband kept reading the Shema prayer, thinking they were going to die any moment. But all throughout the day, Rachel, she figured a hungry terrorist was more dangerous than a full terrorist. She kept offering them food. She'd even offered to make them lunch, make them coffee. She kept feeding them, stalling them, and trying to, I don't know if she's probably not making friends with them, but at least kind of appease them. So after 20 hours, her son, the police officer, mapped out a detailed plan of the house. Rachel was even able to signal to the hostage negotiator outside in the commando team that how many terrorists there were. She held her hand up to her head, risked her life, signaled that there was 5 terrorists in the house. They almost caught her. And in the middle of the night, a commando team came through the roof of the house, stormed the house, killed every single terrorist, and Rachel and her husband survived with barely a scratch. The terrorists were literally 2 feet from her when the commando team stormed the house, and her husband, thank God, survived with barely a scratch. now she's being hailed a hero. So keep looking for those positive stories, guys. Please continue to pray for Israel right now. Pray for the safety of the captives, that they would be released, the hostages from Gaza. Pray for the healing of the injured, more than 2,000 in hospitals right now, and pray for the comfort for those who are mourning, those who have been killed right now, their family members and friends. And pray that the IDF would be strong and that they would be able to push back against their enemies. Pray for Israel's government to have strong leadership and that the country would be united right now. Guys, again, please join our emergency fundraising campaign. We are directly providing local communities in Judea and Samaria with desperately needed equipment. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of pieces of equipment that the communities all around us need. We're purchasing this equipment today, tomorrow, all throughout this coming week. However much you guys can donate, 100% of it is going to go towards this cause and go directly into the hands of those who need it in Judea and Samaria. You can go to serveisrael.com/emergency campaign or click the link down in the description below. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe. Follow us all over social media. Join our Breaking News WhatsApp group. The link for that's down below. Let us know what you think of this war effort and how you're praying and standing and contributing to helping Israel right now down in the comment section below. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We're here every single day with a direct connection to the land and people of Israel.